Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. And keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. All right, folks, here we are on Wednesday, March 13th. We're going to take a look at Path today. So I figured with earnings coming up, we would come and see where it might hit some support or resistance, whether it booms or busts, and of course, some levels that it might sort of pin itself to if it does move relatively sideways. Now, we've had a bunch of these levels on the Path chart for a while. Just to note, there are several gaps that are left to be filled, one down here to 2031-ish, one down here to about 1733, and one down here to about 1560. So that's a lot of talk to the downside. Also, these purple levels. This is an old gap from back here, which is partially filled, but not completely. So if you see here, this candle wicked up to 2787, but that gap fill would complete at about 2896. So I don't know if any of these gaps will come into play, but this is just to say there's plenty of room in either direction if it wants to sort of hunt down any of these gaps as part of its reaction to earnings. Now, if it does move relatively sideways, at least as of now, the nearest in levels that I have to the upside, 25.41, so it would be sort of a mildly bullish reaction to earnings, or maybe, a big pop and sort of sell off and then settle in that area. Or that 23.95, which is that previous gap entry point, that is a near-in support level. Again, whether it dips and comes back up toward it, or who knows what it does. But those are the nearest in levels that I have. So if it does move relatively sideways, like truly sideways, maybe it sort of situates itself in between those two levels, when all is said and done. Now, if it does get some tailwind and some bullish momentum above 25.41, 26.14, 27.18, 28.02, and then of course that 28.96 level all look pretty strong to me. I'm just trying to, I can't recall if I put in any additional levels. Okay, I added a few additional ones in case, it gets a huge reaction, or like I said, over the coming days and weeks, it continues to push 32.23, 34.74, and 38.33 all look like potential levels to me. Now, to the downside, I focused on primarily those gap levels, but we could put another one in there at 21.33. So if it does come down, I already called out that 22.13, 21.33, and then it would fill this gap at 20.31. If it then continues to find itself pushing further down, we could put in an additional level down here, trying to not clutter the chart up too much, but trying to grab what seem like the strongest levels, 19.19, and then it would get into this other gap, like I said, 17.90, filled at about 17.33. So hopefully us covering from 15.60 up into the 30s gives us enough range to capture what may happen during earnings or in the aftermath of earnings. Now, in the think or swim side of things, looks a bit more flaggy on this setup. You see this big push up, left the channel, huge gap up there, and then sort of sidestepped its way back into the channel, came down, lost the mid-range, but then kind of pinned itself to the mid-range and has been just sort of stretching above and below as of late as we're heading into earnings. So plenty of room to move, and like I said, sort of a long flag pattern here. We'll see if that sort of evolves in typical fashion, or if the reaction to the report and the sentiment of the market based on that report sort of throws everything askew. Nothing really happening here in the TTM squeeze indicator. We had a brief trigger and then a lengthy-ish fire, sort of set off this move. So we'll see if we get any retrigger and refire coming up in the days and weeks ahead. This was a nice call out, TTM squeeze indicator, trigger fire, and that's when you get that huge pop. So that was, that brought the stock from about 15 or so up to that 27 range. I guess by then it was retriggering, but still up here, 26-ish. So really good call out there. We'll see if we can get another good call outs in the, like I said, as time evolves. But histogram wise, brief bullish bump, brief bearish drawdown,
trying to nudge back toward the baseline at the moment. So everything just sort of setting up with a bunch of sort of potential energy, if you want to go back to your days of physics. Mid-range of the channel, near baseline on the histogram, and everything just sort of, consolidating after this big push up. And I guess folks will determine based on the content of the report if they feel that this was priced in or if there's more to be had here, and how the market wants to digest the actual nuts and bolts of the report itself. All right, folks, I hope that you've had a happy hump day. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.